The technology for gaming has changed a lot over the last 3 decades. Most children growing up in the 90s or even the first 10 years of the 20th century wanted to be fully immersed into their favorite video games. Whether it be performing jumping in Super Mario or saving Princess Zelda in Zelda. Most people who grew up playing video games can tell you they were probably in the backyard, swinging around a stick, pretending to liberate Zelda from the clutches of Ganon. Currently that is possible with the new virtual reality headsets. This modern-day technology could revolutionize the way that we look at gaming, just like many other systems before it. Although to truly appreciate these futuristic leaps through technology, you must first go back and look at how far we have come. The Super Nintendo was one of those systems. The Super Nintendo was the predecessor for the regular Nintendo. The Super Nintendo had cartridges that you used. They didn't use discs like we have now. The cartridges had internal memories. So the memory for your save files was built into the console or to the capsule itself, and you plugged it in. The next one that came out was PlayStation, the PlayStation 1. The PlayStation 1, or PlayStation itself, Sony, created a agreement. So according to Tyson in an article titled "The History of PlayStation," in 1998, Sony entered into an agreement with Nintendo to develop a CD-ROM attachment, known as a Super Disc, for the soon-to-be-released Super Nintendo. So a few years later, Sony made their first appearance in a large market of gaming. According to PlayStation, via their website, the first PlayStation released in 1994. So when the PlayStation came out, they introduced external memory. The external memory cards were pretty revolutionary for the time. The external ability allowed you to create more save files for your games. So with the consoles, for the Super Nintendo, you had the cartridges. The cartridges were built in, and the memory was built into the cartridges. And so this only allowed you to have like 2 or 3 save files. And if you have somebody hanging out, or you have a big family, that's not enough save files. So when PlayStation came out, it really revolutionized the gaming market because you could just pull out a memory card, and if you can have your own memory card and just stick it in, and boom, there you go, there's your save files. PlayStation also had really good graphics for their time. It was quite a boost. They were still mostly 16 and 32-bit, but they were more detailed 16 to 32-bit. When the Nintendo 64 came out, it was also pretty revolutionary. It was the first time that a console came out and had 3D graphics. But according to Boyer, in a 2009 article titled "A Virtual Failure," evaluating the success of Nintendo's Virtual Boy on November 15, 1994, Nintendo unveiled its newest video game console at the annual Shoshinaki show, which ended up being a flop. The Virtual Boy was not a very good sales, and the Nintendo 64 came out and basically saved Nintendo. The 64 was a major hit and could be classified as their diamond in the rough. When the Nintendo 64 came out, they also created a shock back on the back, which basically it was a rumble pack. It allowed your controls to rumble, and they also had memory sticks at that point called memory packs. The PlayStation 2 came out right after that. In the turn of the 20th century, the PlayStation released the PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 2 didn't have very many changes compared to the PlayStation 1, except for one major one, and that was the graphical overhaul. The graphical overhaul for the PlayStation 2 became 3D. They had 3D graphics built in. Almost all of the games in the PlayStation 2 were considered 3D. After PlayStation 2 came out, that was when Xbox first jumped on the scene. Xbox, just a year later after the PlayStation 2 was released by Microsoft, which is the PC behemoth that we all know and love. So Microsoft came out with Xbox, and Xbox just changed the game completely when they came on. They were the first people to put an internal hard drive into their games, so Xbox itself, like the Xbox box, had an internal hard drive in it that was big enough to stage and shelter all of your save files. You could also put music onto your hard drive, so if you were playing NBA, you were playing NFL, football, and you wanted to play your own music, you could just save it onto your hard drive and it would allow you to play it while you were playing. So GameCube was the next one that came out. The introduction of GameCube was the first one that they had made in a little while, and it was basically their answer to the Xbox. So GameCube didn't change much from the Nintendo 64, besides the fact that they now had external memory, So not internal like the Xbox, it was external like the memory cards for PlayStation. And they started using discs. Other than that, the graphics weren't much different. The next one that came out was the Xbox 360. According to Levine in a 2006 article titled Gaming Setups Common in Libraries, the Microsoft Xbox 360 was the first next-generation console to make it to the market in November 2005. Offering a detachable 20GB hard drive, 2 USB ports for plugging in digital cameras or MP3 players, advanced graphics capabilities, and wireless controllers, a more powerful processor, a newly designed internal water cooling system to reduce fan noise and heat, and a DVD player with a progressive scan for a more optional picture. This thing was huge. With the introduction of the Xbox, it changed everything. Everything was more powerful with the Xbox 360, basically. After the Xbox 360 came out, you had the Nintendo Wii. So the Nintendo Wii and the Xbox 360 had one major thing in common. The Xbox 360 came out with the Kinect, and the Wii had a built-in motion sensor. This allowed you to be more interactive into your gaming, so if you were bowling, you could actually have the controller in your hand and bowl, and it would throw for you. The Nintendo Wii, according to Marston's, Greenlay, and Van Hoof in 2013 article titled Understanding Nintendo Wii and Microsoft Kinect Consoles in a Long-Term Care Facility, the Nintendo Wii, which was released in 2006, brought a new approach to interaction when playing games. So that was the motion sensor right there. Now, finally, we're going to go to the Switch and the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. The Switch is major. It made revolutionary changes. It has the ability to be a hybrid. You can pick it up and you can play it just walking around the house, and you can attach it to your TV. It is very, very good, and it's a universal type console. It still has less graphical capability than the Xbox 360 or the Xbox 4 or the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, which are the next ones I'm going to talk about. The Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 are the newer consoles for PlayStation and Microsoft. They both have very similar technologies. They have similar graphics cards and similar processors, and so their graphical capabilities are very similar. They both have the same amount of terabytes that you can buy. You can buy 500 gigabyte, terabyte of memory. They're both very similar. They're both internal hard drives. They're pretty much the same system with different options for gaming.